Hello and welcome to today's social studies lesson. So first of all, guys, can we all turn to wave and say a big hello to our friends on camera? Hello. And we'll begin by doing our meditation sequence. So I will sit down, take 2 fingers, find our heart center, left hand on our laps, and close our eyes. When you're ready, guys, you can open your eyes and come back to the room. Next, we'll do our stretch sequence. So let's stand up and push in our chairs. And we can begin by stretching up high to the sky, high as we can. And then, let's go down low. Touch our toes. And now back up high one more time. And this time, can we go tippy-toe high? And while we're there, let's have a wave. And then back down to touch our toes once more. And now let's shake it out. Arms and legs, shake it out. Hands on hips. Let's have a wiggle side to side. Stop. And then another wiggle side to side. Stop. Forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, and stop. And then we'll go round and round. Round and round. Round and round. And stop. And then back the other way. Round and round the other way. And to finish, we will do 5 claps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent, guys. Have a seat. So we'll begin today's lesson by thinking about the type of government that we learnt about in the previous social studies lesson. Now, the type of government that we learnt about in the previous lesson begins with D. Democracy. Excellent. Very well remembered, guys. So let's write the word democracy on the board. D-E-M-O-C-R-A-C-Y. All together, democracy. Now, democracy is a particular type of government, and it's a type of government that we enjoy here in Thailand. What democracy means is that people have the power to have the vote and to say who they want to run their country. Each person has the right to a vote when they're of legal age. That means being an adult. What every person does is when there is an election, every person has a vote. And that means that the people with the most votes are then elected to run the country. And that is what we mean by democracy. So in democracy, there are three main pillars that we learnt about in the previous lesson. And the first main pillar, like I've just said there, people power.
People power.
Yes. People, P-E-O-P-L-E. Power, P-O-W-E-R. People power.
People power.
Now what that means is that the normal people in the country all have the same power to vote for who runs the country. We can't just have somebody come in because they're rich or because they're a powerful person and say, I'm going to run your country. That's not democracy. That's dictatorship. But what we enjoy in a democracy is people power, where everybody has the right to a vote so that they can decide together who can run the country. And the second pillar of democracy that we learnt about, majority rule. M-A-J-O-R-I-T-Y. Rule. R-U-L-E. So, does anybody remember what the term majority rule means? Thinking about people power, all the people have the right to a vote. So what do we think majority rule means? Any ideas? Majority means the most. So what majority rule means is that after the people have exercised their power by having a vote, the person with the most votes is then elected to run the country. And this is what we mean by majority rule. Because, for example, when we have a vote, we will not get someone who gets 100%. 100% is not realistic because there will be different people who vote for different candidates. But what we might get one person who gets 70%. And the next person might get 30%. So which percentage is larger? 70%. So the person who gets 70% of the vote will be elected to run the country. And this is what we mean by majority rule. Yes, the person with the most votes is elected to run the country. And it doesn't have to be 100%. In fact, it never will be. It's the person with the highest percentage. And then the third pillar of democracy, equality. E-Q-U-A-L-I-T-Y. Equality. Now, can anybody remember what the term equality means? What does equality mean? Anybody remember from the previous lesson? Equality, the key is in the word equal. All people are equal. Just because somebody might be very rich, their vote counts the same as somebody who's very poor. A very powerful person doesn't have any more say than a person with little influence or power. All people are equal in the eyes of the law. And this is what we mean by democracy. All people equal. That is what equality means. So the three main pillars of democracy, again, guys, number one, people power.
People power.
People have the right to decide who they want to run their country. Number two, majority rule. Yes, after the people have spoken, after the people have exercised their power, we then count up who has the most votes. The person with the highest number wins. And that's what we mean by majority rule. And of course, when it comes to the vote, equality. All people equal. Nobody's vote counts for any more than anybody else's. And they're the three main pillars of democracy, guys. Very well remembered. And what we're going to do in today's social studies lesson is we're going to move on a stage further. We're not going to be looking at democracy. We're going to be looking at a term called sovereignty. Yes, sovereignty. And what sovereignty means, sovereignty is the supreme power to run a country. Above the courts, above the parliament, and above the judicial system, there are powers even higher than that. And it's the sovereignty or the supreme power that decides how these different factors of the country will be run. So what we've got now is a PowerPoint presentation for our students to observe, listen to, and practice speaking about some of the factors of sovereignty. So let's turn to look at the TV screen, guys. So let's take a look at our PowerPoint presentation about sovereignty.
Sovereignty.
Yes, and sovereignty means the supreme power to run a country. You see, sovereignty is the supreme power to govern a country. Yes, and the word here, govern, means to rule. Now, what can you see in the picture? A crown. Who does the crown belong to? King or queen. Yes. Usually, the queen or the king of a country is the sovereign. They will be the head of that country with the supreme power. The king of Thailand is known as the sovereign of the country. Yes, he is the supreme leader of Thailand. He is the head above all of the courts, above all of the government, and above all of the people. The king of Thailand is the head of the country. And it's similar in my country too. I come from England. We don't have a king now, we have a queen. And the Queen of England is the head of the country. Similar to how the King of Thailand is the head of this country. The sovereign. The sovereign of the country exercises power in three different ways. Yes, and you can see them made up here. The Constitutional Court of the Kingdom of Thailand. Yes, when we put these three different powers together, it creates the Constitution. But let's have a look at the three different ways. First of all, legislative power. Legislative power. Hard word to say, yeah? Legislative power is the power to govern the people of a country by law. Yes. You can see all of these people here. This is in Thailand. And they are deciding how best to govern the people of Thailand. But where is it? Does anybody know the name of this place? Let's find out. Legislative power in Thailand is controlled by the Thai Parliament. Okay, guys? So legislative power, Parliament. Yes. That's one of the three main ways of sovereignty. Executive power. is the power
is the power
to carry out
carry out
duties
duty
and enforce
and enforce
the law.
the law.
Yes. So this power covers what people in Thailand enforce the law. If people do something wrong, who will come to visit them? The police, yes. Executive power is the powers that are given to the police for them to enforce in Thailand. Executive power
Executive power
in Thailand
in Thailand
is controlled
is controlled
by
by
the Thai
the Thai
government.
government.
Yes. In government, they will decide what laws need to be changed and what laws need to be kept. That's why we have government. And then the power to enforce the laws is given to the police and other law enforcement agencies. Remember, executive power, Thai government. Judicial power is the power
Is the power
to decide
to decide
disputes and punish wrongdoers. Yes, so this is the next stage. If somebody does something wrong and the police come to catch them, then people sometimes need to go to court because they may even end up in jail. And it's this place here that decides how long and what this should happen. But what is this place called, guys? Any answers? Any ideas? Judicial power
judicial power
in Thailand
in Thailand
is controlled
is controlled
through
through
the Thai courts.
the Thai court.
Thai courts. Yes. And you see all of these people here who are sitting in court? These are what are called judges. These are the people who rule and decide on cases and punish wrongdoers. For example, these people will decide if somebody needs to go to prison and for how long. Any questions, guys? Okay, that was excellent. Well done. Welcome back to class. We hope your students enjoyed the PowerPoint presentation to learn more about sovereignty and what it means to government and a country in general. And we use Thailand as the example because that's where we are today. And what we've got coming up is a flashcards exercise for us to create an example of Thai sovereignty on the board. But first of all, guys, time for our stretch sequence. So let's stand up and push in our chairs. And for this sequence, we'll have a game of Teacher Says. So listen carefully. If Teacher says, we can do. If Teacher doesn't say, don't do. So hands on head. Teacher says, hands on hips. Teacher says, touch your knees. Teacher says, arms in the air. Arms down. Teacher says, arms down. Teacher says, turn around. Teacher says, turn the other way. Teacher says, jogging on the spot. Teacher says, arms in the air too. Teacher says, clapping. Teacher says, stop. Teacher says, stand on one leg. Teacher says, touch your nose. Teacher says, hands on head. Teacher says, swap legs. Teacher says, stand up straight. Teacher says, into a ball. Stand up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Teacher says, jump. Excellent, guys. Please sit down. And what we've got now is a flashcards exercise for our students to understand and demonstrate an example of Thai sovereignty on the board. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to give it a title. So Thai, T-H-A-I. We're saying Thai because we're going to do where we are in our country now, Thailand. And sovereignty, S-O-V-E-R-E-I-G-N-T-Y. So all together, guys, Thai, sovereignty. Yes, and for this exercise, teachers, what you'll need to do is print off the flash sheets for the lesson and cut each of the vocabulary into their own flashcards. And what we need to do is we need to give them out in sequence for our students to create, one by one, the example of Thai sovereignty. Now, I've got 9 flashcards, and today I've got 8 students, so that means I can play 2. In fact, I will go first. So our first flashcard, guys, let's say this one together. Constitution. Yes, constitution is the way in which a country is run. And this will always come at the top of the framework. So all together one more time, constitution. But what we now need to do is we now need to know what goes on underneath constitution. So with the next flashcard, I'll have my students come forward and demonstrate. So now the flashcard is with Pak Bung. Pak Bung, come and bring your flashcards to the front of class. And can you show it to your friends? The king. Okay. The king is the overall power of a country. The constitution isn't a person. There's nobody above the king. Constitution is the overall way a country is run. And then next, Pak Bung, comes the king. Excellent. Okay, so we've got 2 stages out the way now. The king. High five for Pak Bung and a big round of applause. Okay, so next what we need to find out is what comes after or what comes under the king. Constitution, the king, and then what's next? Let's find out. Okay, so now the flashcard is with Pat. Pat, come and bring your flashcard to the front of class. And Pat's flashcard says sovereignty. Okay, this is the word of the day. We're looking at the sovereignty of a country. So remember how I said the king is the supreme power in the country, but then underneath the king we can place sovereignty. So Pat, your flashcard can go here. Excellent. That's brilliant. So far, guys, we have constitution. The king. Sovereignty. Pat, that was excellent. High five and a big round of applause for Pat. But then, what comes after sovereignty are the 3 different ways in which a country can be run. Remembering back to the PowerPoint presentation, 3 different types of power. So first of all, we need to draw our framework. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3. Okay? Sovereignty means 3 different ways of power. So let's remind ourselves of what they are. The flashcard is now with Nadia. Oh, but by the way, teachers, what you can do now is you can pause the video and you can play on in your own students, in your own class. And remember to give all of the flashcards out in sequence so that we can create the same framework on the board. And now Nadia. Nadia has executive power. Okay, so Nadia, the choice is yours. Where would you like to place executive power? Nadia's put it in the middle. That's okay. We have 3 different types of power, and they can go anywhere. So altogether, executive power.
Executive power.
Nadia, very good. High five, big round of applause for Nadia. Okay, but now to find out about the 2 other examples of power that helps to run a country. And now it's Net's turn to bring his flashcard to the front of class. And this flashcard is the difficult word to say. So let's say it together, guys. Net's flashcard, ready? Legislative.
Legislative.
Power. Altogether, legislative power.
Legislative power.
Excellent. So Net, where will you place legislative power? On the left or the right? Okay. And then, let's help Net say it one more time. Legislative power.
Legislative power.
Can you say, Net? Legislative power.
Power.
Excellent. High five. Big round of applause for Net. And what we've got now is our 3rd and final type of power that we need to place alongside legislative power, executive power, and then the next type of power. And the next flashcard is with Down. So Down, bring your flashcard to the front of class, please. Okay, now Down's flashcard says judicial.
Judicial.
Power.
Power.
Altogether, judicial power.
Judicial power.
Okay, so Down knows where to place that one. Excellent. Great, so you can see Thai sovereignty is taking place. So far we have constitution, the king,
The king.
sovereignty,
Sovereignty.
made up of 3 powers: legislative power,
Legislative power.
executive power,
Executive power.
judicial power.
Judicial power.
Dan, that was excellent. High five and a big round of applause for Dan, please, guys. Okay, we're nearly finished, but not quite. Now, we need to remember the 3 different places where each of these powers are enforced. So, we'll have 3 places where we can place them. Because each different type of power, there is a different building or a different section of the government that enforces and creates these powers. So let's see what's next. And now the flashcard is with Prel. So Prel, bring your flashcard forward, please. Okay. Parliament.
Parliament.
Okay, now this is a place where a certain type of power is exercised in Thailand. But do we think it's judicial power, executive power, or legislative power? What do we think, guys? Legislative power is correct. Excellent, Pak Bung. So, Prel, we can place Parliament with legislative power. Excellent. And we can say legislative power, in Parliament. Prel, that was excellent. High five. Big round of applause for Prel, please, guys. Okay, so 2 different places to go. Let's see what we've got left. And now the flashcard is with Pangpon. So Pangpon, come and join me at the front of class and show your friends your flashcard. What does this word say, guys? Cabinet. Yes, cabinet is a particular type of government or a particular part of government. Now, do we think cabinet are responsible for executive power or judicial power? Correct. So we can place cabinet with executive power. Excellent, Pangpon. So let's say together, guys, executive power, cabinet. Pangpon, excellent. High five. Big round of applause for Pangpon. We have 1 flashcard left. So it's no surprise to tell where this place is, but let's do it together. In fact, Lakgao, you can do it for us. Okay, so Lakgao's flashcard says courts. Yes, this is where if people do something wrong and the police catch them, they have to take them to court because they might end up in prison. So courts is part of judicial power. Yes. So now we have our Thai sovereignty all on the board in the correct places. Let's practice speaking one more time. Constitution. The king. Sovereignty. And the three different powers regarding sovereignty: legislative power in Parliament, executive power in Cabinet, and judicial power at the courts. And that was excellent, guys. And Lakgao, thank you very much for helping. High five, big round of applause for Lakgao. And round of applause for everyone, guys. That was great. And now it's time for our worksheet part of the lesson. So teachers, make sure every student in your classroom gets their own worksheet. And what we've got is an activity very similar to the flashcards exercise. But this time, our students need to complete their own worksheet activity to show Thai sovereignty. So we've got the vocabulary box with all the different parts of Thai sovereignty, and our students need to write them in the correct places. And if they can't remember, they have the flashcards exercise on the board to refer to. But what's the first thing to do, guys? Write your names on top. And give our students around 12 minutes for this activity and just monitor the class, help them with anything they need. So Lakgao, this one's for you. You're welcome. Prao, here's yours.
Thank you, Suez.
You're welcome. Down, this one's for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Net, this is for you. You're welcome. Nadia, this one's for you. You're welcome. Pat, for you. You're welcome. Pak Bung, you're welcome. And Chu, for you. Okay, so guys, Thai sovereignty. We have the 9 different factors, the ones that we've learned about already today. You've got examples on the board, and you've also got the vocabulary in your word box. So create your own Thai sovereignty table. And anything you're not sure about, let me know. So the top one, correct, Net, constitution. Constitution is the overall way in which a country is run. This is an idea. It's not a person, because nobody will be above the king. Constitution is the whole way a country is run. And then the head of the country, the king. Or, in my country, the queen. The King of Thailand or the Queen of England. And then we have sovereignty, because this person is the sovereign. And sovereignty is the different ways in which power is affected in the different places. For example, judicial power at the courts, executive power in cabinet, and legislative power in parliament. Okay. And you can write your powers any way you want. You can have legislative power, executive. It doesn't matter how you write them. These 3 are equal. Just make sure you get the correct place with the correct power. Excellent. Hang on. Very good, Pak Bung. Pat, very good. Excellent, Nadia. Well done, Net. Excellent. Proud too. Welcome back to class. We hope your students enjoyed the worksheet exercise where they had to design and illustrate their own Thai sovereignty table, going off the flashcards exercise that we did earlier and also using the vocabulary in the vocabulary box. And my students here all did an excellent job, so well done, guys. And that's all we've got time for today's lesson. So we hope you've enjoyed it and found it interesting and now know what it means about the sovereignty of a country, particularly Thailand, which has the constitution and then the king and the different ways it's run under a sovereign power. And we'll see you again soon for the next social studies lesson. But for now, guys, can we all turn to wave and say goodbye? Goodbye. Bye-bye. See you again soon.